Hey, what's happening? In this video, we're talking pros and cons of living in Encinitas, California. And if we're doing pros and cons, we're on a walk with Marla. Hey, Marla. She never looks at the camera or really participates in these. But always an excuse to walk the dog and then, walk in so many of the cool cities, suburbs here in San Diego. Today, I'm over in Eastern Encinitas, over at the Colony of Leeuwenhoek, which is actually historic. This area, settlers came over in the late 1800s, and right behind me, this is one of their meeting houses. Really cool. For an area that doesn't have a ton of really old history and anything that is historical. This Leeuwenhoek area of Encinitas is really awesome. But let's just get into it. As I've mentioned, and as you've probably seen, there's a ton of different videos where people, really talk about, here's all the pros, here's all the cons. I like to do it a little differently, and I hit up 4 to 5 main topics and talk about what I think are the pros and cons to those both. So right off the get-go, we always talk about weather. Obviously, yes, San Diego, Southern California has incredible weather, but Encinitas itself here, right now I told you I'm in the eastern part of Encinitas. Absolutely sunny, gorgeous. Right now it's mid-April, about 10 o'clock in the morning, 62 degrees, hardly a cloud in the sky, absolutely gorgeous. But it's cloudy and foggy at the beach. And that's what you'll see. Encinitas isn't a massive city, but it still has a completely different, climate. Just when you head west of El Camino Real, definitely when you cross the freeway and you're by the beach, you're just going to get that morning gloom. And needless to say, the June gloom and the May gray that really socks it in those months. But eastern side of Encinitas, normally always sunny, and if there is any fog in the morning, it burns off super quickly. So kind of two different microclimates in a small area. And the terrain itself, a Leeuwenhoek where I'm at right here, a lot more space. I'll dig into it more when we talk about real estate as far as lot size, but kind of rolling hills, nothing terribly steep, but we are right up against Rancho Santa Fe, and that's going to be a lot different than some of the beachy communities in Encinitas over on the northern point of the Lacadia area, the downtown Encinitas area. And if you haven't seen our video where we do a full vlog tour of that, definitely check that out. And then just south of that over in Cardiff. So a lot of different areas in surprisingly a small city and a small footprint. We also have a video where we kind of take a deep dive into Google Maps and scouting out those different areas. So definitely check that out as well. But yeah, the weather, that's going to be, it's, depending on what type. If you want it cool, being closer to the beach is definitely, what I suggest to people. And if you find it beneficial to always have that sun and always have that warmer environment, then the eastern side of Leeuwenhoek is a spot for you. Second topic would be activities, right? Number one are the beaches. I would say compared to other areas in North County, Encinitas probably has some of the better beaches, just because we do have not only beach breaks like up in Carlsbad, but you have some great reef breaks over in Cardiff, over and a couple other of the breaks here in Encinitas, where you can park, you can get down to the beach, and as long as it's not super high tide, there are plenty of beaches there, and you can hit up some of the more popular breaks like Swami's. If you are into hiking, I would have to say one of the negatives of this Encinitas area here is because it's smaller, it doesn't have quite as many of those opportunities and trails to go on. They're kind of, if you're coming from Rancho Santa Fe or coming from Carlsbad, there are access points that will basically take you into those areas. But I would say for the most part, the footprint of Encinitas isn't really trail heavy. Super popular with cyclists on biking, whether it's to and from into Rancho Santa Fe or it's over on the Coast Boulevard. But that has also been a big debate because so much of the road, especially on the 101 Coast Boulevard, has been given to the cyclists as far as the right-of-way. And if you're a cyclist, it's fantastic, right? But as far as driving around here, it makes it a lot harder, because if you get behind cyclists or a pack of cyclists, they don't have anywhere to go other than be right in the middle of the road, and now you're taking that extra time just to sit behind them because you can't pass them. So that's been a big debate, but cycling, some minor trails, and of course the beaches are just the highlight for this area. Education-wise, I always like to touch upon phenomenal elementary. The Encinitas Union School District for the elementary is fantastic. It is just elementary, and then beyond that, it feeds into the San Dieguito High School, Middle School, and High School District, which is really big here in North County, and again, a phenomenal program. You will find that depending on which neighborhood you're living in, you may not be in the immediate boundary lines for where you think you're going, so definitely scout that out. But the district itself gives you the ability to choose where you want to go. So there's not quite as much red tape. As long as there's room in the school available for the kiddos. But I would say overall the schools are great. It's just you do have to be tactical on where you're moving to make sure that you are within those Encinitas boundaries. I always touch upon tourism and everyone that's coming into town here, that they're coming just for fun. They're coming to relocate. Our summer months are absolutely packed. We're really slammed in the summer, but at the same time, what's unique about Encinitas is that there's more of a nightlife than some of the other North County cities. If you live next to downtown or you live off 101, it can be a little more tedious because you have more bars and restaurants that are open there and more people coming into town. But you also have the ability to have that, have that going on, and everything isn't shutting down at 9 o'clock, like some of the other areas here in North County, do during the weekdays. So, I would say it's either a pro or con for you, depending on what type of lifestyle you run and what you want available near you. It gets crowded, and I've talked about on other videos from other coastal towns. In the summer, everyone likes to come to the beach, and it's really finding the right beaches that you want to go to when you may not want to be just packed over at Moonlight Beach, one of the most popular ones. That's great there if you want to play sand volleyball and you want to have a bonfire, but maybe it's worth hiking down the beach or going to one of the smaller ones and finding a place where you can, have a little more isolation and it's a little more quiet, whether you're on your own or with your family or friends. And then the last thing I wanted to touch upon is just the overall price. And yes, real estate here is going to be more than just north of us here in Carlsbad. You're going to quickly jump up another $100,000-$200,000, and then of course over on the coast, you know, especially if you have ocean view, you know, those are going to hike up even to more extreme measures. But there's a uniqueness here in Encinitas of having the option to live in that smaller beachy community, live in that area where you can run down to the sand, run down to the beach, and have that environment, or literally 5 minutes east, still in Encinitas, you're in an area like this in Liebenhain. You can have a massive yard. Gosh, you know, right around me, there's even horse trails that feed right into Rancho Santa Fe. So, you know, a lot of people that want a property that either has room or is horse friendly as far as accessibility to where they may be keeping their horses. They just want that yard. They're coming from an area where they're used to having that space. You know, the real estate in inland Encinitas definitely does provide that. And if you're high enough on a hill, you may not be getting the ocean views, but you're getting some really lovely hillside, or in the distance you can see, you know, some of the higher hills and mountains. So a lot of variety. And sure, it all comes at a price, and that's what we're talking about here. It is more expensive. So I think that if you're finding exactly what you're looking for, it's worth the price because you need to have that space, or because you want to be right by the water and you want to be able to, you know, pop on down to a restaurant because you like to eat out 2 to 3 times a week. But if you're not finding Encinitas is providing those benefits, then I think it can just be overpriced for a lot of people because they're not taking advantage of the beach, or they're not taking advantage of that space. So overall, you know, North County is one of the more expensive areas to live in San Diego. So you're going to see just higher prices in general. Gosh, even on the gas, that's outrageous. It's still a little more expensive here in North County. At least that's what I've found. And Encinitas is no different. But all just comes down to what you're looking for, what you want. And like I always say, you got to be tactical about your choices, and that's probably why you're watching videos like this, right? So you have an idea of what you're looking for and you want to pick the right area. So if this was helpful, hit that subscribe button, tap that bell, so you're notified each time we come out with a new video. And definitely check out those other ones we have, taking a deeper dive with more of an aerial view of the area, so we can you know, make sure that you're understanding all of that stuff. All right, till next video, adios. Say goodbye, Marla. Yeah, she's still quiet. See ya.